when your child reaches out to you, even at 25, to say, I'm not quite sure I got this.
Yeah.
Where is that love? Where is that empathy? Where is that, sensitivity to
Yeah.
say, hey, yeah, I got you.
It's okay.
Let's sit.
Yeah.
Let's break it down. Let's.
No, I told you so.
No, I told you so. Because again, you already said it. I think the fact that your time, the exposure to social media and so many other influences, and the subtle impact that has on your entire being.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. So we, it was survival of the, we're like
everybody's hustling.
Everybody's hustling, and many people actually, in hindsight, have claimed that they've had some tough experiences then, that they're still dealing with the traumas today.
Hello, mommy. Hola, mommy.
Hola, sweetheart.
How are ya?
I'm good. How's today been?
Today has been really fun, actually. I went to the +234 art fair.
Oh.
So a friend invited me, like a new friend, who I met through another friend. Mm-hmm. And so she and I went to +234 art fair on Uzumba at the EcoBank Pan-African Center. And it was so cool. Like, It was a free event, 3 day, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4-day event. And the art was just like mind-blowing. It was so great. The theme was, I think, inclusivity. And so they were trying to, feature artists from different parts of Nigeria. I think there's always a focus on Southwest or like Lagos when these kind of events are being held. And so they wanted to feature artists from all over Nigeria, and it was amazing. I saw so much art that was like inspiring. That's what I was saying.
Did it inspire money out of your pocket?
In the millions. One piece of, I saw one bag, as per just like bag, actual bag that I said, oh, this, it was more like a tote bag, like a wide tote. And so I was like, oh, that's really cute. I was like, okay, it was cute enough for me to be like, okay, I'll spend a bit of money on it. I picked up the bag. Guess the price.
1 million. You had said
that was the art. The art was in the millions.
Oh, okay. Well, the bag, what, 300K?
It was 161K.
161.
I was not about to spend 161.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Please, that's the difference between an executive and somebody who's not an executive.
Maybe.
Because 161K.
No, because if you said it's a big tote bag, right? And it's Asha, okay, so it's kind of like unique vintage stuff. Then it would. Anyway, let's not debate about that. You couldn't get it in the end.
Yeah, I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Shout out to that bag, though.
Shout out to the bag.
I mean, as soon as I saw the price tag, it wasn't. I didn't like it as much anymore. So it wasn't too much of a miss. But how was your own day?
My day was it was very relaxing. I did, had a lot of self-love activity today.
Period.
I had pedicure, I had manicure done, I had my massage, I had tea, I had wine yesterday.
Oh yeah, okay, we did have some wine.
Yep. We did have some wine yesterday. So since yesterday night into this evening,
you've just been on a good
vibe. Just kind of like having a great me time over this weekend and prepping for, enough energy and positivity and motivation for the coming week.
That's good. That's a good way to.
It's been a great day for me.
The weekend is still going. I'm currently dressed out for. I'm dressed rather to go out.
We see you.
So, well, the people listening don't see me.
I know. I see you.
There. My weekend is still going, but we're like, okay, let's get an episode recording in. Okay.
Okay. So today, Fika, you are gonna be on the hot seat today.
Yeah. My bad for putting you on the hot seat last time.
Well, it was gonna happen anyway, so we're gonna keep exchanging the baton.
Yeah.
But today, I kind of thought we should just have a conversation around the times and the days when I was 25.
When you were 25?
Compared to now.
When
Like,
I'm 25.
yeah, now that you are
Okay.
25.
Okay. I like that direction. I
So
like that
that's what I'm
direction.
kind of, I'm just, because, so sometimes I've just thought, at your age, the way as parents, we're like, at your age, I was already doing this, I was already doing that. So, today I just wanted us to kind of like have some sort of reflection. Well, yeah, you reflecting, me reflecting over much longer years, and just kind of say, what is adulting like today for Gen Zs? What does it mean? The different elements of it, whether career, financial independence,
There's so much.
responsibility. There's so much to talk about.
So much.
What does it mean for the younger generation today? And how do we as parents either pressure you or not if you're not getting any pressure, or how do we pressure you with that comparison to say, see what you're doing at your age today, in my own time at your age, this is what I have done or had done and achieved. And
Yeah.
so what let's just start first with what does being 25
Feel
today
like.
feel like?
This honestly, yeah, this episode is going to have parts, because even that one question, there are so many
I know.
categories to go into. Okay, so I can start with that first bit. For me, at least, being 25 has been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a little bit stressful sometimes. It's been a little bit overwhelming sometimes. It's been kind of anxiety inducing, sometimes. It's been really inspiring. I realize I'm at a time in my life where I'm young, I could do whatever I want. I could lead my life to wherever I wanted to go. But having so many options and being able to do so many things is also a lot to deal with, because you have to pick what you want to do. And I think being 25 right now in the economic and financial state of the world is not fun. A lot of my friends are, between jobs, between countries, between cities, between relationships. There's a lot of transition going on right now between friends. There's so much going on right now where your life feels like it's not really going in one direction. You can't really connect the dots. But again, you can only connect the dots looking back, right? But yeah, it's a lot. I think it feels like it feels like a whirlwind. It feels like everything else is more important than you, but it also feels like you are the most important thing as well. It feels very stressful at times, honestly. It feels very stressful at times. And at least for me, it's not really a paralyzing stress. It's a stress that makes you just want to stick to what's comfortable. It's a stress that makes you just be like, Biko, I can't be reinventing the wheel right now. Like, what's the fastest way I can reach stability? And let me just do that and not be thinking about all of this stuff. Because, the people that are 25, the people born in the millennium, the 2000 babies, the mid 20s babies right now, we've lived through COVID at the high, like in the start of our university experience, or during our university experience. I'm sure there would have been some people that graduated a little bit before me. You're going through job crisis after job crisis, unemployment after unemployment, layoff after layoff. Immigration hostility is on the rise right now. I know so many of my friends who are moving back to Lagos, which is another conversation in itself. We kind of touched on in the last conversation of being a young adult and moving back home and living at home.
We did.
Being 25 right now feels like you really need a soft landing. It feels like a soft landing is very helpful at all times, because so many things are on your mind. You both feel so capable and so helpless at the same time, which is conflicting. I don't know. Maybe other 25-year-olds are like completely chilling Maybe it's just me.
Maybe, yeah, but and that's what this podcast is about. Is that we're sharing our
Yeah.
experiences so that we can just understand the dynamic better. It's interesting you say those things. So you feel very capable at some point, and then also like, do I really even have it all together and all that? And the question that comes up in my mind is, so how as you're dealing with all of that, how have myself or your dad either added to the pressure, or do you feel like we understand what you're going through, or are we just comparing, or do we keep just comparing to say, hey, come on, get it together,
Get it together.
At your
what are you
age I
doing?
was this, because I think
At your age, I had one child.
exactly. At your age, at 25, I had you.
You had me, yeah,
I had
which is
you.
insane.
Yeah. So, yes. Do you think we understand how different it is now, and we're sufficiently supportive, and we're not layering on, unnecessary pressure? So I think I've woven like several
Yeah,
questions.
we'll get there. We'll get there. If I should think to like one of our recurring, like, okay, mom, just chill a little bit on this, would probably be that like anxiety piece. I think mental health has become more of a topic of discussion for Gen Z in general. And, recognizing neurodivergence, and when people have grown up differently from you, or just with a different state of mind, or brain than you, or neural network than you. And as Gen Z, I think we're more sensitive to that compared to older generations, but also more sensitive to what imbalance does. But we also experienced a lot of imbalance in our formative years. So I think it's easier for us to identify those imbalances, which makes it, and we have names for it as well, as opposed to, don't know, I'm just not feeling good today. We are able to, at least more easily than previous generations, identify like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little bit anxious, or I'm feeling a little bit overstimulated, or I'm feeling a little bit, depressed today, or something like that. I don't know. And I think that one of the ways that's helpful, like I was saying, was a soft landing. And so I think sometimes when I've like crashed out, which, do you know what crash out? To crash
You
out.
can explain it.
Crashing out is basically like, I'm on the brink, man. Like I'm losing my mind. Mental breakdown, or
Yeah.
mentee B.
Mentee B.
Mentee B.
Are you serious?
I'm gone.
A funky name for a bad thing.
I think like one point where you and I will sometimes be like, mommy, can we just, like
Not
not go,
today.
not today. Like, let's not go into the your mindset is everything spiel. Let's not go into the whole like, you believe that you are a strong, capable. Like, oh, mommy, please, can I just be sad and upset and like anxious and nervous and not sure and not completely confident and all of those things? I think holding space, or holding the space for those emotions, I think has been the most helpful, where I don't feel like I have to be shiny, or at least have a plan. And to an extent, honestly, that's also some pressure I put on myself. Like, I always feel like I have to have a plan. You know me, I don't really just do things. Sometimes they'll seem spontaneous on the outside, but I've thought about the fallback. I've thought about the plan B. I've thought about, a lot of people are like, oh, you moved to Lagos to pursue a career in film. I'm like, yeah, 100%. And it's definitely spontaneous on the outside, but I
But there
already
was
know
a
my
bit of
exit
planning,
plan. I
yeah.
already know how, things are going to go. It's not as random. And so, all that to say, I think that soft landing of thinking things out, like not expecting every single thing figured out. Now, there's a difference, obviously, between having a plan, not having a plan, and just being like complacent, just,
Yeah.
truly sinking, which could happen for multiple reasons, which could happen because the person is truly not able, like is incapable of doing that at that moment. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe, they feel defeated. Maybe they're not in the headspace where they have the motivation to do anything. That's a possibility. There's also the possibility of like laziness,
Yeah.
not to be confused. So which the root cause can only be found out through conversation, obviously.
Absolutely.
But I think that for me, that's been the best help. Is okay, so you're feeling down, sitting with me in the sadness, sitting with me in the pain,
And just letting
comforting.
you be.
Yeah, just letting us be in that moment. I think there's a lot of pressure right now because things are quite unstable in the world and so many things are happening. Gen Z is very plugged into news all over the world.
Yeah.
We feel it because when you've grown up with the entire world, quote unquote, on social media, and something happens all the way in Palestine,
You don't feel so
you don't feel
distant
so
anymore.
distant.
Yeah.
It feels like it's happening in your radius, even though it's not happening right in front of you. And so hearing about things all over the world that consistently deplete your energy, it's a lot to carry. You have to work at remembering that you have to keep going. If you care so much about the people, about the world, and about keeping it going, you have to keep going so you can continue to give. But I think the best thing has been just that space to like drop your arms and drop your luggage.
It's interesting you say those things, because even as you're speaking, I'm I'm trying to assess how well I have helped or supported in those times where, because again, in those times where you've needed to just be held as against counseled, because typically a parent is speaking with a child and they say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and the natural inclination of that parent is to offer some sort of solution, help, support. If I think you need encouragement, then I want to tell you, no, you are strong, you can do it. But if it is any of that sort of help you need, I want to just be in there giving it. But sometimes from what you've just said, it's like we need to, even though we're from a different generation, we need to understand that you speaking about it in itself is some sort of release, right? And not necessarily that we need that direct counsel. But just being able to listen, hold you, even if we're going to give the counsel, let it come later. Let's fully understand and be able to help you embrace the realities that you're going through.
Yeah, sometimes all you need is like a rant, and I think you are very understanding, and you are very quickly or relatively quickly able to put yourself in other people's shoes. Not everybody is like that. Not everybody is like that. That empathy is important, but even just holding your tongue, like, is more than you think. Because
just not saying anything.
I remember when I was going through a lot, last June.
Yeah.
And I was at home and I was not in a good space. And like you and daddy both noticed. I mean, you would notice, but like for daddy to be like, girl, this girl is moping around this house. Things were serious. Things were serious. And even though I tell you near everything, the strength it took me to say that I didn't feel capable, because I know that you are one of the most capable people that I know. I don't feel like something that I know you are. A lot of us will look at our parents and feel inspired and like, wow, I can't believe, how did you even get this done? How did you move to a different country at the age of 26 and start from nothing and build a business and raise children and all of these things? And it can feel extremely overwhelming because that's not the world we're growing up in. And those things are not happening, And so taking that to you already is like, I already feel some form of my tail between my legs. I already feel some form of like, not shame, but a little a step below. Yeah.
Up to that standard you've set.
Exactly. Am I living up to the things that you expect me to have? And I think that parents should really be empathetic towards the fact that that is probably on your young adult's mind.
So let me help take a bit of pressure off you, and let me go back to my own time, right, and talk about what it was like growing up for me, and coming into my 25th year and what I was doing at that time. So only daughter in a family of 4 children, 3 siblings, 2 older brothers, 1 younger one. The gap between my second The second and myself, me being the third, was about 7 years. So in a way, I think I kind of, like we were speaking about the other day, I kind of replicated, the scenario that I had growing up, where
Yeah.
we more or less had two firstborns. So my eldest brother was a firstborn, and in some way I was also a firstborn, because the gap between my immediate older brother and myself was a whole 7 years. So really, I was, they were out of the house when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, I had to really kind of assume a lot of responsibilities quite early. I'm not going to go into those details, but bottom line was, by the time I was 15, 16, going into college, I was a young grown woman. I had dabbled into some little businesses here.
Yeah.
Again, different backgrounds, different levels of
Yeah.
exposure, different personality and interests. So many things influences what we were and what we've grown over time to become. But at that time, that was me, right? And then fast forward my university years, I did a lot of things. Did little business. We had those 6 months when ASU strike, we used to call them, long breaks, where the lecturers will strike and then we'll be home not doing anything. And I just found ways of gainfully employing, in indulging myself or involving myself in different things. I tried different businesses. Oh my God, I used to bake to sell. I used to make T-shirts for clubs, Ibadan Golf Club, and, just different things. But if I just think through the sort of mindset I had then, it was some sort of independence. I didn't really depend on my dad for my allowance, because I just had money. In fact, my friends used to say, if I told them I didn't have money to borrow them, they're like, Funmi just doesn't want to give you. She has money, But that wasn't always true. But bottom line was, for me, coming into my young adult years, I was quite independent. I was quite clear about what I wanted. My street smartness was high. I was clued in, so many things. And so when I graduated, did my service year, there was such level of, grown-upness, if I can put it like that, that I was operating in. And so by the time I started my first job at the age of 24, was it? No, I think that was 23, and then, of course, I met your dad, and then we were planning on getting married. And by just a little after my 24th birthday, I was married.
Yeah.
Right? Now, those were huge things, but it didn't feel, even for my classmates at the time, I think I was one of the first 3 or 4 that got married early. So it was early for me, but I felt quite capable. I felt quite, I was young, right? But still relatively naive about some things, but didn't feel, I don't.
It didn't feel crazy to make those decisions.
It didn't feel crazy to make those decisions at the time. Some of it was expectations of of the society, of culture, of your parents. Oh, you've graduated, you have started working, you have a good job. What else are you gonna do? Come on, go get married. Right. And we didn't push back. It's not like some people pushed back, but not many people pushed back. Some people gave themselves some more time, went to do their masters and things like that, and just lived life. But I made those choices, which I'm happy I did. But if I just think about those times and my experiences with your time now, I remember.
I definitely cannot imagine getting married last year.
Yeah.
First of all, to who?
To who? Well, we'll get into that. To who? But yeah, so when you say parents today sometimes bring back those standards to say, oh, at your age I used to be this.
It is not the same context.
Or even if they don't say it, again, we're not judging, we're just sharing experiences.
You can only do that.
Yeah. So even if they don't verbalize it, but they look at you in a judgmental way,
with
like,
the context
with
of
that context
what
of
they would have
what
done
they
in
would
your
have done
situation
at that age. I think there's a lot more empathy, like you said, that we need to intentionally as parents start to extend to our children to say, what is the capability of this child? What is within the context he or she is given? What is the best I can do to support, to encourage, and to make sure you are stretching within the the boundaries that you have capacity for.
And And
you
even
know.
I completely agree with what you're saying, and I don't even want it to sound like the direction of our conversation is going in a way of, oh well, Gen Z just not as capable. That's obviously not what I'm trying to say. Alongside the world being more of your concern and us being more in a global community than we used to be, the world is much more connected today than it was 25 years ago. I think there is also the increased value on rest and the increased value on stability and calm and peace that Gen Z also has. I know that obviously I could do the whole climb up a corporate ladder and try and do this and do that, and there's a way that you can deplete yourself chasing after certain things. And
Your generation is not really about
yeah, I
that.
think we think a lot more balanced. That is obviously not to say that we are incapable. That is to say that the energy is being conserved for things that we care more about, that we care deeply about. When I hear of some parents just using their own prioritization list and giving it to their child as if their child has the exact same priority list or list of priorities, I'm like, well, well, obviously, then it's very clear why I don't seem ambitious enough to you. I don't seem like I'm doing enough with the education you gave me, or I'm not making you proud, or whatever. Like, of course, it's clear because you prioritize different things, or you lived in a very different world, or Nigeria wasn't banned 1 million times when you are trying to immigrate into the US. So there's so many things that come into play, like even making friends. When you see some friends of yours make certain decisions that you're like, I would never do that, it's a different prioritization list. It's a different list of priorities. But I think because there's a parent child dynamic, there's the expectation that your list of priorities is exactly the same because I raised you. But it might just not be. And the secret to your child's happiness might be very different to the secret to your own happiness. And you can only know the secret by listening to them and
Absolutely.
trusting that they know what makes them happy. And even if they're wrong at the end of the day, like, let it be, man. Like, let it be. You made your own mistakes. Let me do my own.
So I'm going to like jump in there, right? It's again from a parent's point of view, right, where we naturally have cared,
Yeah.
nurtured, and brought this child up,
Yeah.
right? And our fundamental interest is that this child is led in a path where he or she can sustain him or herself with a good quality life. That's what I, as a parent, will comfortably sit back and say, yeah, I think I've done a good job. Not that you've a child has to rely on you.
Yeah.
And so for us, when hearing all those things, for me, I'm thinking, how do I want to trust, but if for any reason these paths that a child has picked leads him or her down a path where things don't work out in the next 4 or 5 years, and then I'm looking at 30 years, the child is still in my house, still relying, like, mom, can I get a little raise here? I mean, that's like maybe the worst case scenario, but maybe not worst case, but that's one of maybe.
That's from that perspective. That's like,
That would be
that's what you
very
don't want.
worrying. Yeah, that would be very worrying for any parent who sees that, or who suspects or fears that this path that this child is going on that I'm entertaining, but I want to, it's my prioritization is different from yours. That's what it sounds like to us, right? And we have.
It doesn't sound concrete.
It doesn't sound concrete. It doesn't sound sustainable. It doesn't sound like this is something you can build a life on.
Yeah.
It sounds like, you're going to be in trouble. You won't be able to fend for yourself. You won't be able to feed yourself. Let's not even talk about all those other responsibilities or expectations that we have of the children
Just
in
like
the future.
basic life needs.
Exactly, just basic life needs. This person is not going to be able to provide that for him or herself. And, juxtapose that with us realizing or understanding that your generation like life. They love life. They love the good things of life. They want to drive the good cars. They want to look good. They want to do this and that and that. And then this whole plans that they have are not so concrete and all that. So how do we help each other, right, to for me to be able to listen and accommodate this space that you need to explore while still trusting that all will be okay. And then you helping me to say, you know what, your standards are not my standards, your priorities are not my priorities. But that concern you have of me being able to sustain myself is valid, and this is how we can both just work together. So how do you think that we can both navigate that?
I think there's an economics part of things, which I'll not like make it sound technical, but there is the fact that money today is not money in year 2000. And if anybody was 25 today versus 25 in year 2000, that is a completely different economic, like you need more money, significantly more money to get by today than you needed 25 years ago or 26 years ago now. So I think that's number one, is recognizing the facts of economic state of the world today is just different, especially in Nigeria. Inflation, the prices of things are ridiculous. So it's like, okay, let's set a goal that's realistic. Hashtag smart goals. Specific, measurable, achievable. I don't remember
realistic
the R.
in the context of modern day.
And time
bound.
Let's have a very clear goal of, okay, how much did that house you bought when you were 25 cost? How much would it cost me today? Where is my bank account today? What was your bank account then? Which one is achievable? Setting the context for the discussion, not just what's possible, but what the child wants. And then I think the only way to be able to express concern of, I understand our priorities are different. I understand you want to explore this thing before you maybe give up on your dreams. Like, there's so many career paths and there's so many ways to make money today compared to before. And that person might be curious about that. All that said, you can't express your concern of, okay, that makes sense, but I'm worried about your ability to fend for yourself in 10 years when I'm much older or I'm stopped working or whatever. I'm worried about that. There's no way that conversation is going to be had without acknowledging the first part. The child is not going to hear, I'm worried about your ability to fend for yourself. If you've not acknowledged the first part, it's going to sound like you don't trust my planning, you don't trust my vision, which is possibly true. Like, not to say that you have to build that 100% trust in a world that you did not grow up 25 in this world. So it would make sense that you don't fully understand how that makes sense. So I think on the parent side, it's first understanding the child's plan. Okay, this is what I want to do with this thing. If let's say I wanted to be a DJ, okay, I want to be a DJ before I go back into working at the engineering. I don't know. This is obviously not my life path. But if that was it, hearing them out, okay, you want to be a DJ. How does one become a DJ today? How are you planning on becoming a DJ?
A good one that can even
a
earn.
good one. What are the typical amounts that DJs earn? Okay, do you think that would be enough? So, okay, what are the multiple streams of income that you plan to sustain yourself? Asking those questions in curiosity, trying to watch your tone, trying to phrase it in a way that's just like, the tone is the most important.
I know.
If you're afraid of your tone, send them text message and read it.
Oh my God.
Or write it out and read it. But then on the flip
deal
side,
with yourself first before you have the conversation, because I can almost hear some voices of parents that which conversation,
which kind of DJ,
DJ,
But I mean, again, like we said the last time, the cost of this conversation going wrong is part of that relationship. Is the young adult now closing up a little bit, like, nah, man, my parents don't even understand like what I'm trying to do. They don't see the vision. They don't trust me. They don't, which is, it doesn't even get to that level of depth, but you begin to change your mind about whether or not they could even believe in you and believe in what you want to do. But I was going to say that is important on the parent side, but on our side, have a plan, bro. Like, I definitely have a bunch of friends who are like, yeah, like, I would love to do this. And I'm like, oh, that sounds incredible. Like, you should do that. Like, you should definitely. And I'm trying to encourage. And then it's just like, ellipses. There is no plan. There is no...
Just an idea.
There is just a dream.
Yeah.
a target, and the target is often extremely out of reach. It's like, okay, you want to become a full-time content creator. Sure, that is not easy to come by. That takes work. That takes learning certain technical skills. That takes consistency. That takes creativity. That takes organization. It takes work. And so, you need a plan. If you know that your parents are going to require you to have a plan, you need a plan. And in general, you need a plan. Like,
An adult means
yeah,
you
being
have
an
plans.
adult means you need to plan. So we definitely have some growing up to do on that front.
So I just wanted to, again, kind of like bring that home with me as a parent and with other parents that may be listening, which is that, you've owned up to say your generation have a plan. Where you need help, shout to say, I need help. If where you are seeking to earn the trust of your parents, that demands some level of openness and upfrontness, from you, right? Because I would, if you wait for me to assess what you're doing and assess it from a mindset of what
From
I
your own
think
context.
from my own context,
You're not going to come to a good conclusion.
I'm not going to come to a good conclusion. So you really need to be
proactive.
You really need to be, and if you do feel like, I actually feel like I may not be able to do this, that's where the parent part then comes in to say, when your child reaches out to you, even at 25, to say, I'm not quite sure I got this.
Yeah.
Where is that love? Where is that empathy? Where is that sensitivity to say, hey, yeah, I got you.
It's okay.
Let's sit.
Yeah.
Let's break it down.
I told you so.
No, I told you so. Because again, you already said it. I think the fact that your time, the exposure to social media and so many other influences, and the subtle impact that has on your entire being.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that.
Yeah.
It was survival of the, was like
everybody's hustling.
Everybody's hustling. And many people actually, in hindsight, have claimed that, they've had some tough experiences then, that they're still dealing with the traumas today.
For sure.
But I just wanted to mention that to parents to say, what, let's also realize that we should not just remain in that context and say, oh, well, he shouted out for help. Nobody helped me in my own time.
Yeah.
The times are different, just like you've said. Your generation needs to open up, stretch out your hand, be upfront, trying to earn trust. And when we are reached out to, we need to just be present enough to be able to support.
Yeah, I think that there's always a part of me, like me, Fikemi, that wants to also help fix things. And there's some times where I'm learning very recently, like in the last 9 months, that when you've done all you can and when you've said what you want in the best way that you could, you need to stop there.
Yeah.
And this is not to say like, you're trying to mend your relationship with your parents and it's just like, anyways, I've done what I could, man.
Yeah,
and you haven't really tried. But also to say kind of that in the same way, because, I've also been exposed to some people or some of my friends where, you're trying to kind of mend that relationship and they're not really catching on. They're not really trying on their own end either. So it's like, what happens? Because you holding your heart open to them and them continue to poke it, it hurts. You eventually have to create that boundary where you're like, I need to preserve my own peace and energy.
If I just offer a suggestion there to anyone that may be in that situation, right? If my child, for any reason, was in that situation, what I would want my child to do is to sit down and say, you know what, this is the sort of relationship I would love to have with you. Because I'm your child and I love you and I want your involvement in my life because it's because I value it and I know you're so many years ahead of me and I have so much to still learn. And I would be vulnerable with my parents to say, this is what I'm looking for. This is how I've tried to have it by sticking out my neck and just trying to develop this sort of relationship, but this is what keeps happening. I feel like my heart keeps getting stabbed, but I can't do this for much longer. I would always love you. I'm here for this relationship. Is in say if my child was in a situation where they felt they couldn't develop a relationship with me that they needed, I would expect and want them to be vulnerable with me and tell me openly.
Yeah.
I may not understand it in the moment, right? But at least he or she would have been upfront to say, this is what I need. This is how it's going. It's not really going well. I don't want to abandon it, but temporarily I'm going to step back from it, right? When you ever get to that point where you realize, actually, now I understand, can we try again? I'm here. I'm available. Come back to me. Because I think there's a lot more vulnerability that is required in this young adult parenting relationship than parents, that relationship currently experiences.
Yeah.
So we need to be a bit more vulnerable and be open on it. So and for young adults, they can do that. And I know you say, oh, I've done it. Just do it. If you don't want to talk about it, write a letter. Write a note, write a letter, post it off, and hopefully something comes out of it.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of heartbreak when that happens, when you try and mend your relationship and it doesn't really feel like the other person is trying. It doesn't really feel, and there's a lot of hardness that grows when that keeps happening. When you keep trying. And I can imagine there's some people that don't even want to get to that point. Like, why would I? You already know what I'm looking for. At that point, send them this episode. At that point,
send them this episode.
At that point, send them this episode. We will help you say what you've been hurt by, because I can't imagine being hurt consistently, being told I'm not doing enough, I'm not ambitious enough, I'm too careless, I'm too this, I'm too that. Especially when I've been trying, and whether
they are judging your trying by their own
context, and yeah, I think it feels like that's also part of the difference between being 25 then and being 25 now, is maybe those conversations are not expected, or you might not know what to do with it because those conversations could never have happened at that time. But these are the language that we're being exposed to. A lot of people are talking about parent-child trauma on social media, about lived experience, about the type of parents you have, about the possible, are my parents narcissistic? Are my parents abusive? Like, people are talking about these things online on social media and building communities, finding commonalities with other people online. So people know what they're talking about. They've psychoanalyzed you guys.
but yeah, so you're right. And some of those psychoanalysis are things that we didn't even know.
100%. Yes, that was the point.
It's only clear now because there are terminologies to it that they are saying this is a narcissist or whatever and all that. And the level of self-awareness, was there anything like self-awareness back then? So a lot of things in 20 years, 25 years down the line sound a lot more, oh, that makes sense. But back then, they didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's part of it.
That's all part of it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think even if you know that, like, there's learning to be done on both sides, right? Like,
100%.
Maybe if on the flip side, where it's like, okay, as a child, if my heart is hardened and I'm like feeling a lot of resentment towards my parents for not trying or for just shunning me or judging me, there is a way to soften my heart. It's going to be very difficult to do all at once. It has to start very, very, very small. And it has to be very clear that it's mutually being done. I can't soften my heart towards you if it feels like you're going to poke me again or you're going to stab me again. So there are definitely conversations to be had with your friends. Have conversations with people you already feel soft with. Why do you feel soft with those people? Why do you feel open to those people? What puts you in that state of mind with those people, and trying to recreate that state of mind with this parent who wants to improve the relationship. If you have told your parents this thing and they said, abeg, carry that podcast and be going somewhere else, my dear, please guard your heart with all diligence because it's tough to begin to bridge that gap. There's so many things we only basically even touched on, like career or professionalism
Yeah,
or
we
whatever.
didn't
Right
touch
now,
on
we
family
didn't
dynamics.
talk on family. We didn't talk on romance. We didn't touch on what?
No, sorry, I shouldn't say marriage. Family life, future family life.
Right. Yeah.
So it looks like, you said maybe this will have to have a part 2 or something.
Yeah, it would, maybe part 2, 3, 4. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
see if
how
people
it
want to keep
goes.
hearing about this.
If I just wrap up, a lot of what we've talked about today and how to, not allow that difference in generations dictate or create a barrier between parents, children. It would just be vulnerability.
Yeah, which is hard.
Vulnerability and sensitivity to each person's context. And I think if both sides of if both the child and the parent are focused on those, there will be a stronger chance of helping to improve.
If both people want to improve.
100%. Yeah. That was a really deep one today.
That was a deep one. I cried. Wow.
You cried?
Yeah.
Oh,
you putting me on the hot seat.
I
mean, I cried for my friend.
Yeah. Which is that
was
that's
very painful. I'll tell you more details about that off the record.
Of the record.
But it was fun hanging out with you guys today.
Same
I forget like people are listening when we just eventually start yapping.
Absolutely.
But
it's always great having a conversation with you.
Yeah, you too.
One of my best things in the world.
Oh my God. Did you guys hear that?
It most definitely is.
Well, yeah.
So,
thanks
great chatting. Thank you all for listening us, today. And you can always reach out to us on our social media handles, which Fika is going to...
on Instagram, you can find us at Sunday Calls Pod. And you can email us questions, reviews, comments, whatever. You want to be a guest, email us at sundaycallspodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to leave a like if you like this episode. Leave comments, subscribe.
Turn on notifications.
It's
been Funmi with you today and
Fikemi with you on the other side. And we'll see you guys next week on Sunday Calls.